I'm wearing my old lady dress. If you have a problem with that, you're allowed to. This is supposed to be a free country. I'm allowed to wear what I want, say what I want, and you're allowed to criticize it. That's how free speech works. Anyway, I want to talk about some of the books I've read this spring. The Rise and Fall of the Second American Republic by Manisha Sina. This was a good book. I don't remember a lot of it. It's about Reconstruction and post-Reconstruction America. And it gives a pretty sweeping narrative of it that includes the stories and perspectives of a lot of minority groups and women, which is really cool. A Fever in the Heartland by Timothy Egan. This was an important book for me to read because of my family history. Unfortunately, my family doesn't have the best history. And so it was important for me to confront that part of my past and to continue confronting it. And honestly, if you are of a skin tone similar to mine, if you're white, like me, and you want to be a good person, you should be reading books like this so that you know how these groups operate and what they do, and so that you can help support your neighbors. And also, these things hurt all of us. Some of us obviously more than others, but we'd all be better off if we could find a way to resist these groups. Editing River, because I was rewatching the clip and I don't feel like refilming it. To be clear, I personally was never a part of one of these groups, but my great grandfather had some involvement. So that's what I meant by my past. I meant by my family's past. Trauma and Recovery by Judith L. Herman, MD. Um, this book was really good. This book was incredibly helpful for me leaving my last job because I went through a pretty traumatic experience there. It really honestly helped me to process some of the things that I was processing with my childhood. I'm gonna leave the burp in. Deal with it. Free speech. Again, I'm allowed to burp. Um, but yeah, this book helped me a lot to understand how trauma operates and then also how to face it in a way that can help me heal. Um, it is older. I think it was written in the 90s, but I don't feel like checking. Um, some of the language is outdated. Oh, yeah, some of the language is outdated. Um, for example, she uses multiple personalities instead of dissociative identity disorder. Um, that's just the new term, but again, it was written a long time ago. So, and then also there's a lot of gendered language. She tends to assume that people being abused are women and that the abusers are men, which on a bell curve, maybe that's the case, but often it isn't. But again, older book, outdated language, you can read this, and if it doesn't bother you, I do recommend it a lot. This book was really helpful for me. Also, fun fact, I learned from this book what hysteria was, actually, the old diagnosis back in the day. Apparently, hysteria was just people who were assaulted in childhood and didn't remember it. So I guess I had hysteria. Who knew? I had hysteria. Cultish by Amanda Montell. This book was good. This was one where I was struggling to pay attention. But it talks about the language or the way high control groups use language, as well as the way that MLMs use language. And like I think this book is helpful for anybody who wants to be, you know, to like put some extra protective factors in their life and in their brain against getting sucked into a cult. But also, like, we're hit with this kind of language all the time, every day, just because of capitalism and commercialism. A lot of the same language, a lot of the same tactics are used to sell us shit. And so if we learn how that works, we're less susceptible to it, right? And we wind up spending less of our money than we intended to spend. Wait, whatever. We wind up spending less of our money and saving more. Maybe not being as wasteful with the way that we live. I definitely want to, whatever. But yeah, this book was good, and I'd recommend it to anybody for those reasons. Jesus Springs by William Schultz. I live in Colorado Springs, so I thought this would be a cool book to read, especially since like I grew up evangelical, and this book is kind of a cross between, like it speaks about evangelicalism in the context of the Springs, and but also like the way that the military has influenced the culture here, and the way that capitalism has influenced the culture here. I really enjoyed this book. I do intend to reread it. But yeah, good one. Recommend it, especially if you live in the Springs. But even if you don't, like, because of the influence that Colorado Springs currently plays as almost the like white evangelical capital of the world, basically. Like it could be useful for a lot of people to read. And even for a better understanding of the military too. So yeah, there you go on that one. Stamped from the Beginning by Ibram X. Kendi. This cover, boy, did he choose a cover, and boy, I bet that was used to make me look really bad. And I knew that was going to be the case when I bought this book, because I went to the bookstore that day and there were a whole bunch of books that were kind of like this, where like the covers just looked like they were meant to make me look bad. I got this one anyway because I really wanted to read it. I didn't care. This book is good. He goes through American history and then almost like profiles. I mean, like he does section off the book and follow different people throughout history in order to highlight the ideas that were floating around at the time and the way that like racist ideas developed. He's pretty witty at times. Like there were times where I would like chuckle out loud reading this book because he would just like come out with like a little bit of snark and I wouldn't be expecting it and I'd be like, oh my god. But I really like this book. I found out about Sojourner Truth's I Am a Woman speech, or anti-woman speech through this book, which was really cool. But yeah, I actually do think I probably am gonna reread this one. I'm gonna reread like all of these, aren't I? But yeah, Loved it. Good book. Recommend. Jesus and John Wayne by Kristen Copes-Dumas. I first listened to this book back in 2021, I think, when it was first coming out. I found out about it from Phil Vischer, the maker of VeggieTales podcast originally, and listened to it while I was working as a painter. And I recently reread it. It was actually reading this book in the hospital that it started talking about the view from the offices at Focus on the Family, and I was like, oh, I used to look over that same view on my breaks at a store I worked at for 2 years. No wonder I got singled out as an openly trans person who worked visibly at a store. But yeah, I really like this book. It goes through the history of white evangelicism over the past 100 years or so. And honestly, if you're wanting to understand the current political moment we're in, this is a really good one to read, because the stuff that happens here often filters up to create the situation, or situations like the one we're in. For example, DEI or anti-DEI, I remember being shocked back in, I think it was 2021 or 2022, when people started freaking out about anti-DEI and acting like it was a new thing. When I first heard anti-DEI rhetoric in these spaces on, I think it was a Lisa Childer, a Christian apologist podcast. But yeah, at the beginning of 2020, way before that was coming onto most people's radar. Pay attention to what happens in white evangelical spaces. Often, some of the nastier stuff that can pop up in our politics starts there. Not all of it, some of it. You should be paying attention to that. The Rediscovery of America by Ned Blackhawk. I wanted to read this one specifically because I need a better perspective on Native American history, but also because when I was flipping through it at the store, I saw that he talks about the boarding schools, and I've worked at one in Alaska, and it felt really important for me to read. I wish, if anybody has any recommendations for a book that talks exclusively about this, I need to learn more, about the harm I've done, and how to work on making things better on the other end of that, or doing my part too. But yeah, it's pretty sweeping, just giving Native American history from the Native American perspective, specifically in the lower 48, from the arrival of Europeans to today, basically. But yeah, I really liked this one. For large chunks of it, I was pretty distracted because I was in the hospital. I would walk the halls and read, but then a bunch of people would come out and distract me while I was reading. So there are chunks where I didn't pay attention or got distracted because of that. But I really enjoyed this book. It's a good read. I chipped away at it over time. Also, I like the quality of this book too, the book itself. This book feels like it's gonna hold up pretty well over time. Anyway, that's The Rediscovery of America. And Trauma and Memory. I had a lot of childhood trauma that I did not remember until recently, and I have a lot that I still don't remember, but I know is there because of other evidence of it happening. This book was really helpful. I didn't start learning about trauma and the way it's stored in the brain and body until a couple months ago when my childhood memories started to resurface. Um, and so like this book was really helpful. He talks like it's written for people who are intending to be therapists, right? But he talks about the way that trauma tends to come up from almost the body, move through the emotions, and then hits the more intellectual or like thinking part of the brain, um, which was really helpful for me just to recognize where trauma is stored, the way it's stored. Um, yeah, recommend. Good book. It's a pretty quick read. It's only like 175 pages or so. But yeah, those are the books I've read this spring. Um, as far as me, I'm gonna keep doing this. It's gonna take me a while to like get the quality up. That's okay. I'm having to learn a whole new suite of skills to do this. And like long term I want to write, but for now this is what I'm doing. I appreciate y'all. I appreciate all my neighbors who have helped me to like survive this far because like I don't think I was supposed to make it this far, honestly. I know there are people who've been protecting me and helping me, and damn, am I grateful. I'm just really fucking grateful. I think about that every single day. I think about that every single fucking day. Um, because like, irregardless of the hardships I've been through, I didn't have to have so many neighbors helping me, and I can't see them, but I know you're there. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Yeah, the quality on this will increase over time. The point of this was just to get the ball rolling, to get started, to get more comfortable in front of a camera, because I am pretty camera shy. And then also just for practice, I'm gonna have to refine a whole new set of skills for this. But anyway, until next week, have a good one, y'all.